agricultural vehicles. We're talking about electrification, and everything is electrified. Again, the people we are here today. So 10 years ago, we started with 5 countries. Last year, 50 countries joined us. And today, we have guests from Oman, Kuwait, Swiss, UK, from Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, Mongolia, Denmark, and we have all members from everywhere. We have family members here today with us. So I want to report something to you that yesterday we had a board meeting yesterday night. So because of COVID-19, we were unable to meet face to face. We were only doing everything hybrid. Yesterday, we were able to meet everyone in person. We had some bombs and we had a good chat together. So, talking about the future, made in Philippines, made in Nepal, made in Mongolia, and all these things, all these EVs, when we're talking about Carbon-Free Island, Wudo Island, Gapado Island, so major countries and major companies are not everything. Everyone can do it. Every country, every company can do it. So in Korea, in Jeju Island, we are doing a production made in Jeju. So as you're aware, so we are going above, over just EVs. So 3 o'clock in the morning, this electric ship has arrived, and this is our landmark this year. If you look at this exposition, we are talking about special zones for electric ships. We also have Mr. Jong
창립준비위원회
Hyun-suk,
회장님도 와 계신데요.
President of
이제는
Preparing Committee.
유엔
So
오늘
the
10시에
UAM
창립합니다.
Committee is
그리고
starting
내일은
10 o'clock this
해양수산부
morning.
장관님을 모시고
So, and tomorrow
제1회로
we will be
전기
welcoming
선박
our
국제
minister
엑스포가 내일
for
개막식을 합니다.
the first Sea Expo
어느덧
tomorrow.
10년 전에 이래로
Again, our
시작했던
first
일들이
expo
지금은
was 10 years
200년
ago,
된
and
전기차의 대중화의
today we
역사,
are talking about the
1800년도에
200-year-old
전기차가
EVs
탄생이 됐습니다마는
popularization. EVs were
대중화가 안
invented
된
200
이유가
years
여러
ago,
가지 있을
and the
건데
reason why
10년
it
전에
didn't go
여러분들이랑
popular,
함께한
there were many
여러분들이
reasons, but what
이제는
we started to
세계를
talk 10
리드하고
years
있다.
ago now
그래서
lead the future,
어제부터
now lead the world.
전화제로 시작했던
So we started our
일들이
expo this
여기
year
제주
from yesterday,
중문관광단지에서
and lots of things are happening here in
200개가
Jungmun. We have 200 sessions going on,
200개를 하면
and
만여
with
명의
200 sessions,
동시적으로
we
이
will be
중문단지에
welcoming
예,
10,000
호텔들을
people,
활용해서
and we're utilizing many hotels in Jungmun villages, and a lot of things are going on simultaneously.
조금 전에 우리
So today we just heard
기획위원장이신
from Chairman Hwang,
발표를 하셨는데요. 이 전기차 보급
and he mentioned the penetration of EVs,
우리 아세안
and
전기차 협의회
again, the ASEAN
위원장들한테
Federation of EV
먼저
Association
감사드리고요.
have been
그래서
fully
세계
supporting the
전기차
penetration of EV. I
협의회에서
want to thank them
예,
again,
아세안
so that
EV 협의회
the
아르바
ASEAN
회장님께
Federation of EV
개막식에서
Association and
예,
Chairman
금품을
Edmund
전달해 드리고요.
Araga will be
그리고
awarded
농기계
with this,
전동화에 앞장서는
and the
예,
electrification
글로벌
of
대동이라고 하는
agricultural
부분을 두 군데를
machines are
선정했습니다.
also done by Daedong. We will also be awarding Daedong
여러분들
at the
원하는
opening
길
ceremony.
함께해
Again, I want to
주셔서
thank everyone
감사드립니다.
for coming all the way
이제는
to Jeju.
우리가 매년 해왔듯이
And what we've
작지만
been doing for
예,
all these years,
이제는
all these years, will
제주에서뿐만이
continue
아니라 예, 아세안에서도
not only in
만나고
Jeju but also in
또
ASEAN
중동에서도
countries, in the
만나고
Middle East,
실리콘밸리에서도
in
만나고
Silicon Valley,
유럽에서도
and
만나고
in Europe
매년
also.
코로나 이전에
So now we're
시대로
going
여러분들이랑
back to
연중
what we had
함께하겠다는
before
걸
COVID.
다시
So we will be
약속드리고요.
meeting all of
오늘
you every year.
너무너무 반갑고
Thank you again for
고맙습니다.
coming, and very nice to meet you again.
수고하시고 예,
I hope you have a
짧은
good
시간이지만
exposition, and
여러분들이랑
although
좀
the time is
좀
short,
나누도록
I
하겠습니다.
will try my
고맙습니다.
best to make good friends with you. Thank you very much.
네, 회장님 감사합니다.
Next, we
다음은
are in Jeju. This meeting is held in Jeju. So
제주도에서 지금
we
행사가
have
열리고
our
있는데요.
everlasting partner Jeju's
많은
self-governing
파트너
province. welcoming remark. This remark will be given by Mr. Hee Hyun Kim, Vice Governor for Political Affairs of Jeju Self-Governing Province. So, 네. Due to his personal and official affairs, and he did not make it to this place. Oh, sorry for any inconvenience. And the next one will be a congratulatory remark by Mr. Edmund Araga, Chairman of ASEAN Federation of EV Association. Let's welcome him with big applause.
Good morning. I would like to extend my warmest congratulations on the occasion of your 10th Annual Expo, headed by our chairman, Dae-Kwon Kim, together on your 8th birthday as Global Electric Vehicle Association Network chairman as well. It is truly an impressive milestone and a testament to the hard work and dedication of everyone involved in the organization. Over the years, your organization has played a vital role in promoting the adoption and use of electric vehicles around the world. Your efforts have helped to raise awareness of the benefits of electric vehicles and to drive innovation in this exciting field. As we look to the future, it is clear that electric vehicles will play an increasingly important role in meeting the challenges of climate change and building a sustainable future for all. Your organization is at the forefront of this movement, and I have no doubt that you will continue to make important contributions to this important work in the years to come. Once again, on behalf of ASEAN Federation of Electric Vehicle Associations and from Electric Vehicle Association of the Philippines, congratulations on this important milestone, a decade of service, a decade of good work, and best wishes for your continued success in all of your future endeavors. Good morning, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edmund Araga, for your good congratulatory remark. Before we go into the special speech, we'll have some exercise. So please stand up and come up to the stand. We'll have a commemorative photo session. So would all stand up and come to the stand. Thank you for all your cooperation. Please have a seat. I think we are now all confident to listen to our special speech session. We get to have three valuable speakers, and these three speeches will be composed of three keywords. The first one is outlook, and the second one is strategy, and the third one is practice. And the first one about outlook will be given by Ms. Gabriela Ehrlich, IEC Communications Leader, and the subject would be EV Outlook and IEC Contributions at Jean. So please join me in welcoming her with big applause.
All right. It's good to be here in Jeju with all of you. Chairman Kim, thank you for the invitation. And all the members here of the GEAN and online. I would like to give you a few highlights I thought that might interest you. They're based on a report that will be published by IEA a tiny bit later this month, and the IEC has contributed to it. So I have extracted some information for you which I thought might interest you. So I'll dive right in. Global EV spending was up by plus 40% last year. And roughly 45 billion was spent by governments on subsidies, tax reductions, VAT tax exemptions, bonuses for CO2 emissions. And what we notice is that the subsidies are decreasing in mature markets while they're being introduced in newly developing markets. Now, the spending increase in EVs is a good thing because it provides good returns on investment for the EV industry, and it brings less reliance on the sales of normal cars for the manufacturing facilities, model development, R&D, etc. And that's a healthy development for the future development of the transition to electrification, because it becomes something that is self-supporting. Overall, 2022 was a record year. We had registrations of more than 10 million cars, and now there's 26 million electric vehicles on the road, 5 times more than in 2018. If we look at sales per region, we see that China is leading the position with a growth of 80%, and they are altogether 75% of the world's growth. EU was 15%. It sounds not very much, but actually that had to do on the one side with inflation, the energy crisis, the war, supply chain disruptions, and also that there were quite high sales after the introduction of the CO2 standard by the European Union in 2020 and 2021. So there was already a very high level that was reached. The US also gained around 55%. Now in EV trade, the interesting reversal that has been observed is that where China used to be a net importer of ordinary cars and the EU a net exporter of combustion cars, now the trend is reversed. China is the largest EV market, the biggest producers of electric vehicles, and the biggest exporter. Exports are actually up 500% compared between 2017 and 2022. Now, China has put in place a domestic sales policy, which means that not more than 1% of cars can be imported into the market, which is the reason why a lot of manufacturers, international manufacturers, have established a base in China. And today, about 25% of cars are manufactured in China and then exported. Roughly 35% of all EVs in the world are now produced in China, and EU has imported 16% in 2022, of which roughly 60% were from international brands, European and US, and the rest Chinese. Now, in terms of models, we have a nice choice today. There are about 500 models available, but there's still quite a bit less choice compared to combustion cars. Now, the expectation is that the number of models will stabilize once it has doubled, so reaching closer to normal selection of normal cars. But there is a trend which maybe it's the good conscience of consumers driving more sustainable cars. There's a trend that's not very positive, which is towards very large cars and SUVs, which are now over half of the battery electric vehicles. And it's actually not good because they use more resources, they're less sustainable, they use also more raw materials. Now, in terms of market growth, China, Europe, the US are representing 95% of the market. There is a good news. There's a big progression, although from a lower level, in Southeast Asia, where we have 3 times the growth now, 300% more compared to 2021. And if you look back to 2019, it's 30 times what was sold at the time. Now, this development is led by India, Thailand, and Indonesia. And the future really there belongs to smaller, more affordable EVs, 2- and 3-wheelers, as we heard also last night. Electric light commercial vehicle sales are booming in terms of EVs. Light commercial vehicles saw plus 90% increase, of which 98% are battery electric. Now, it is explained in part because they're regular, they have predictable range, they return to base normally, and they can do overnight charging in a depot. So really an ideal candidate for electrification. Now, 3-wheelers, sorry, there's a global 2-wheelers here, sorry. 3-wheelers, which are very important for cargo and passenger services. For example, in India, now over 50% of new registrations are electrified, and the experience has shown that over their lifetime, they're about 70% cheaper than combustion engines, so normal 2- and 3-wheelers. China has about 85% of global sales, but globally the sales are not advancing as much anymore. They're about 18% versus 2021. The reason being that in China the sales have dropped from 10 million to 7.7 million. Now, China is also leading global e-truck and global e-bus sales. It's about the 80% and 90% globally. And those are also sold to Latin America, North America, and Europe. In terms of charging trends, we see that today most charging is still happening at the home, but we also see that public charging is increasing last year by nearly 1 million new installations. All of the trends are very much upwards in terms of development. Slow charging is still predominant. We have about 600,000 new slow charging installations. And in addition to the overnight at-home charging, there's a lot of depot charging for fleets and buses and trucks. Projection for 2030 is about 130 million installations at home. And because of multifamily buildings, there is a big trend towards workplace charging, which will become more important, and also public and opportunity charging. And those will increase with new electric vehicles being bought. In terms of fast charging, globally we have about 330,000 new installations. China again is leading in this, mostly because it corresponds to China's rapid EV deployment goals, and also because there is a clear lack of access to home charging in China because of the dense cities that people live in. Now, oops, I'm sorry, I see that it didn't advance. IEC work for EVs. The standards that we manufacture are used for hardware and systems architecture by automotive and component suppliers. They are used by electric equipment and utilities for EV charging equipment, planning, energy storage, batteries, etc. And by regulators, of course, for regulations and laws around the framework for charging. We have prepared most of the standards that are used for the whole charging infrastructure. So we talk plugs and sockets, vehicle connector, inlets, etc. AC and DC charging, slow and fast, and wireless power transfer and automatic connection is being published very soon, and bidirectional power transfer is in development. Another new kid on the block is battery swapping. Well, it's actually not that new, but it never really took off until not too long ago. And some of the advantages is that it is as fast or even faster than a normal car from changing the battery to leaving the station. The business model means that there is much less upfront cost for the owner because the battery is usually not part of the cost of the car. There are other ways of dealing with that. There is improved battery management because there's always very controlled charging, a reduced impact on the grid, and it can provide even grid storage and increased use of renewable energy. Now, in terms of swapping trends, there is a very big trend towards adoption for light-duty vehicles, delivery and ride-hailing, especially in Asian markets. And it's a very competitive versus normal two-wheelers and even battery electric for longer daily distances. In India, there are pilots currently running in Delhi, and it's expected, an expansion is expected into 30 cities by 2025. There are also installations in Africa, in Rwanda, Kigali, and Nairobi. Now, in terms of passenger cars, China leads again with more than 50% more installations than previous year, so there were around 2,000. And the goal by the next 2 years is 4,000. There are two major companies that are sharing the market, and the interesting thing is there's one that actually offers battery swapping for 30 models from 16 different brands. In the EU, the first car came out end of 2022, and there are now 10 stations that have been put in place. And in the US, we have 12 stations in the San Francisco Bay Area, mostly for Uber ride-sharing vehicles. Wireless is also coming. It's slow. It's in the early stages of adoption. There is not yet a lot of volume scale, so the cost is relatively high still, and it's mostly destined for premium vehicles. Now, a lot of OEMs, so car manufacturers, are not very convinced about it yet. But the deployment, according to McKinsey, is expected between 2025 and 2026. There are some very clear advantages. There was an interview with a couple of leaders in wireless charging, and one of the things they say is in consumer market, everything that goes wireless is an immediate success. Why wouldn't it be in car charging? Because you wouldn't have to handle dirty cables. There is reduced wear and tear. There's less space needed on the floor. There are no poles. And it's as efficient as DC fast power transfer and plug-in. So there shouldn't be any problem for that. And one of the other advantages is you drive onto it and you have short charging possibilities. So you don't have to get out and plug in and go through the whole process. You actually just drive on it and it charges. Now, in terms of work for wireless power transfer, the full series of wireless power transfer standards is nearly complete. It's going to be published this year. And one short note still about EV adoption. What's interesting is now that regulations are getting away from the subsidies to the focus on low emission zones, for example, where normal cars are not allowed to enter, or lower taxes or interest rates to lower the purchase price, so decrease the hurdle of acquisition. While in some low adoption countries now subsidies are starting. I mean, if I look back, I gave a presentation a couple of years back about Norway, which was the model child in Europe about subsidies, etc. Even Norway has now gone away from they're charging VAT. They have really moved away now from a lot of the subsidies they used to give, and still people are adopting it. As I said, in mature markets, there is a focus shifting towards supporting charging infrastructure and away from expensive private vehicle subsidies, because they are expensive. Battery swapping policies are gaining ground in India and in China because of the range extension. These are big countries, charging time and the reduced upfront cost. And in many countries now, the policy looks also at boosting manufacturing, not just deployment, and this is also coming in some of the developing countries. Energy was always a big discussion for EVs. Just to look, the impact on energy demand of current EVs is less than 1% of global electricity production, and the projection for 2030 is about 3.6%. And if you look comparison with the electricity consumption of industry today, we're talking about 40% of global electricity production. So we're pretty reasonable still. And last but not least, IC work covers the whole energy chain, all major EV infrastructure elements, and here I would like to underline also hydrogen fuel cells and other ways of dealing with mobile transportation. We have conformity assessment systems that look into the safety, reliability, and efficiency of the generation, the batteries, the storage, the whole infrastructure. I hope this little overview was of interest to you, and look forward to talking to you later.
Thank you for your speech. For outlooks and new trends and IEC's contributions and function at GEAN and to the development of global EV networks and ecosystem. And next, we'll go into. We are a little behind the timeline, so the next session is held by Mr. Albert Lam, Chairman and Group CEO, Detroit Electric Holdings, and the theme will be pushing the strategic green mobility. Let's welcome him with big applause.
Just hang on 1 second. I just want to set my clock. I tend to overrun. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Chairman Kim, Mr. Park, Secretary General. Thank you very much for inviting me here again. This is my 7th attendance. I missed 3 of them because of COVID, but every year since the 2nd IEV conference I have attended. Last time actually the 2nd IEV conference, we actually bought a couple of our cars as well here on display. We were early adapter for EV and manufacturer for EV as well. So good to be here, good to see you all. The scale and the size is smaller this time, maybe it's COVID still, traveling restriction and things like that. But today I would like to share with you and take a closer look at what EV really doing to the environment. Although this is an EV conference, but let's take a stand now, after 10 years, that what EV has done to the environment. And is that the silver bullet that we're looking for to solve the environmental problem? And how should we push to the wider adoption of EV as well? Okay. So we can't talk about EV without talk about energy itself and energy assumption, especially electricity energy assumption and global warming, because the whole point of so many investment, so many interest in EV is that we think it can solve the environmental problem that we have in terms of global warming, greenhouse gases. So everybody knows about this picture, EV versus petroleum. Basically, Nissan actually did a study in 2020 that found that for manufacturing and using an EV is about 50% of greenhouse gases contribution to versus a gasoline vehicle. Now, you would have thought more, but actually it's only 50% in terms of greenhouse gases that you have saved over the period of time. Because you still need to manufacture the car that uses energy. You still need to manufacture the battery that uses energy as well. Of course, you use the same manufacturing technique to manufacture a gasoline vehicle as well. So overall saving is about 50% in terms of greenhouse gases saving. But of course, you will save in terms of environmental, in terms of in-city pipe pollution, air pollution. So is EV not the silver bullet that we're looking for? Now let's look at this. This is very interesting. Take a little bit of time to digest this. If you look at global greenhouse gases emission over the period of time that we have, this report is actually 2020. So the mix is more or less the same. Maybe because of COVID, there's less greenhouse gases being emitted. But if you look at it, very interestingly, transportation, particularly in road transportation, and aviation shipping, only counts for 16% of overall greenhouse gases emission contribution. The rest, you can take a look at it, agriculture, even deforestation, as well as emission, even eating cows. Cows actually emit a lot of carbon dioxide. And you can also look at other industry as well, food production. Now, energy consumption residential building, heating it, cooling it, commercial building as well. So a lot of things like this that we actually don't think about it and then say, okay, let's fix EV, let's put a lot of money in government, spend subsidies, we focus on getting EV, then we can solve the environmental problem. No, that's probably not the true story about this. So, 16% what the city represent. Only 11%, even 11.1%, is what we talk about in terms of greenhouse gases saving. So today, if we change everything into EV, everyone drives EV, no more gasoline cars, we save 11%, 12% of greenhouse gas contribution in the world. So if you think about that one, you think about the reality, and think about what we are doing, you ask yourself, is that enough? Is that enough from the government point of view? Is that enough for the individual point of view? Illusion. The topic here I put down is illusion and consumerism. People like to be in control. We want to contribute. We want to contribute to the environment. So they say, okay, we create an illusion that EV can actually fix the problem. Then people will adopt it. And people will adopt EV, buy EV, have a new trend. This is trendy, I'll drive an EV. I'm saving the environment. They feel good. They feel good about saving the environment. I'm contributing to it. So the feel-good factor and consumerism, just like you buy the latest iPhone, your iPhone 10 works very, very well. Why are you buying iPhone 14? So when you think about that, you think about, what's the feel-good factor? Buying EV, saving the environment, I look good. But actually, there is a deeper meaning. There is a strategic behind this. Some countries see this as a strategic technological race, no different from the adoption for handphone, adoption for computer. Now, in particular, earlier, Gabriela shared with us that China is the highest growth because they plan for this. China has spent the last 20 years planning for this growth, and they see this EV adoption as their strategic growth in the future. They missed out on the computer age because they are just a manufacturer. Now they wanted to be the early adopter and creator of the EV industry. So the China long game, right? I'm going to speed on a little bit because I only got 7 minutes left. They aim to be, this is in their National Strategic Development Plan, issued 20 years ago. They want to be carbon neutral by 2060, okay? They go through a 30 years old planning and then 10 years refinement of every year's plan. Okay, everybody knows China is the big polluter of the world because we make it so. We make China the manufacturer of the world. Every single stuff, toys, handphone, cars, everything we put into China to manufacturers. And then now we are pointing fingers is that, oh, you are the big polluter. Yes, they are the big polluter because we make this so. So this is very interesting. I actually presented this presentation. It's a 40-minute presentation when I did it in Norway. This is just an extract of it. Norway is the greenest country in the world. Why is that? Because all their energy, 99% of their energy comes from renewable energy. Wind, hydro, and geothermal. And if you look at all the different countries in terms of their adoption of fossil fuel, generating the electricity consumption, because everything is about electricity. Everything for the last civilization, 70, 80 years, since the Second World War, we're talking about the assumption of electricity, creating stuff, creating the industry. So this is China's plan. That's why you can see a lot more Chinese cars coming into different parts of the world, is because they planned for this. Not only within the self-adoption within China, but they wanted it to happen, to go to carbon neutral. 2025, 52% is coal. They're using coal as their generation of their electricity. But then they will aim to, by 2060, they're down to 3% of coal in terms of emission. they're investing heavily in nuclear, as well as hydropower, as well as solar. Now, this is what I talk about, their 20 years old plan. They issued 20 years ago for the adoption of the next 30 years. They strategically put it is energy saving NEV development plan, made in China by 2025. They're early. They're exporting this technology now to Europe, to US, and they're achieving their goal. So if you look at, we're not surprised at all why we're seeing more Chinese car in Europe, why we are having a lot more talk about EV, is because we make it so. We wanted it to happen. Chinese wanted it to happen. Now, this is the Chinese individual in-country plan, okay? That is specific to them, okay? Within the inner city, intermediate range, 1 to 50 kilometers, within 1 hour journey, you use taxi, buses, metro, underground, or cycling. Anything further than that, you use cars, buses, between 1 to 500 kilometers. Now, this is no accident why they say 1 to 500 kilometers. It's because this is way within the EV range. And then intercity, mid-range, 300 to 1,500. Now, this is all published. They're saying that intercity by rail, high-speed rail, you can go from Shanghai to Beijing within 6 hours. Not flying, but going by train. So if you look at, then the long range is for flights. All this, from 1 to 4, all this can be done as electricity, using electricity as the fundamental energy. So if you look at them, they're saying that, okay, we're using EV, we're using electricity to give in e-mobility. So all this, now this is their charging infrastructure, already adopted. The red areas, 7,000 station is covered by Gabriela earlier, so I won't touch on that as much. Now, this is a quite interesting slide because it tells us how they come to being, what they are, where they are now. If you look at all the squiggly line or all the lines that is connecting, these are all the companies that has invested, all the vehicle company has invested in China, as Chinese partner. So all this time of this partnership, gaining access to China, they're also giving their technology to Chinese companies. So all these companies, FAW, SEC, Dongfeng, and all this have their own individual brand, as well as the EV, as well as the joint venture brand as well. So when Ford worked with Chang'an, they have produced the Ford car, but they also learned from Ford in terms of how to produce vehicle. That led to the inevitable, one day all this company will become their competitor. So that's why Chinese has been learning, doing all this knowledge transfer from the European to Chinese, and Chinese learn from it, and they say, okay, this is my time now. I can expand, I can start adopting this, and then enter into European market. Now, but everything has its challenge as well. This is from the news clipping, from different newspaper. They are rationing energy now. Because there's too much EV being adopted at the shortest time within the last 5 years. There's so many growth, 4 million new cars going on the road are EVs. They're finding it challenging to actually support the charging. So in some city, they have to ration out the charging. So you have to queue. There's only a certain time that allow you to charge the vehicle. So this is what we always will face in the future, because the current grid and current power generation company is not enough to really sustain the growth and all the vehicle being charged. At the same time, we're using the energy as well for our household and commercial building uses. Okay, Chinese put it as a computer with 4 wheels. The Wuling, this is all new Chinese brand already entered into Europe, okay? They're all in Europe selling really well and some leading the market. The highest volume sale last year, which is about 300,000 per quarter, so it's about 1.2 million cars sold, is that little car there, Wuling. That's why I showed you that slide before, where between 1 to 500 in a city drive, 1 to 550 kilometers, this is ideal. That car costs $6,000 US. Okay, $6,000 US is sometimes cheaper than a superbike. So the history will repeat itself, because if you can see, like the Japanese, like the Korean, they have done really well in terms of the last automotive industry, because they have adopted, they have learned from the European, they have exported their vehicle outside of their country and created an economy out of it. It's the same thing. Chinese is now being able to do the same, and it is their fundamental. Remember that slide I talked about, the strategic reason for this adoption is pushing EV. It's not just for environmental, it is really for business and strategic growth for a country. So Chinese is not just because they're cheap that you will buy it, because they're good. Finally, it is always important, you cannot detach this, right? EV is one of the solutions, it's not the only silver bullet, right? You need to look at wider aspect of everybody's behavior as such. Consumerism is one of the biggest contributor of carbon emission, right? Why do you have to always buy new iPhone? Isn't 13 or 14 is just a little bit better than 13? Why are we upgrading it? Right? Every single consumption uses energy, uses assumption. You use it, it has a good carbon footprint. So if you're really being friendly with the environment, think about consumerism, right? Food wastage, deforestation, all this, it has an environmental impact. It's not just the EV itself or the vehicle itself. It's only a segment of it. Secondly is that government has to lead. Without a government contribution, without a government lead, not financially, but their way of looking at how and where to deploy their policy to make it effective for EV adoption. And then address consumerism, commitment to long-term dependable energy, right? Nuclear, even in hydrogen, okay? So this is what I have to share, and I wish you a very good conference today. Thank you.
Thank you for your valuable speech, Mr. Albert. And we came to have the chance of inviting Professor Satrino Brodinegro. He's special advisor for the coordinating minister for maritime affairs and investment Indonesia. He has just landed in Jeju and came here. So the subject will be BEV development in Indonesia. So let's have him with a warm round of applause.
Good morning, dear colleagues, friends, participants, experts, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to be in this very important event, and allow me to share with you what we are doing in Indonesia in order to achieve the commitment of the net zero emission by 2060. Okay, one of the target for the emission reduction is the shift from ICE to EV, because majority of the pollution in Indonesia created by the transportation. So if we attack this issue, hopefully we can and we'll be able to achieve the net zero emission target by 2060. Of course, we have other issue, right? The land use, right? Peatland and deforestation, many aspects, but the most challenging is the transportation. Okay, we have given the amount of the natural resources, mineral resources. Yeah, we have so far the biggest nickel reserve, the world second biggest for stanium, tin, and we have sixth biggest bauxite reserve that produce aluminum. And for copper, we have the seventh biggest copper reserve in the world, and this will be able to convert to produce 437.4 gigawatt of potential rare earth. That's also one of the, because rare earth is usually the following mineral of this nickel, stanium, bauxite, and copper. Indonesia, just to give you some description, we have 17,500 islands with 108,000 kilometers of coastline and population 278 people. Okay, the commitment to reduce the carbon emission. Of course, we have Indonesia NDC outline, and the targeted sector, of course, not only transportation, but agriculture, waste, industry, forest of land use, and energy. And then we have also a commitment in adaptation related to ocean, wetlands, human settlement as well. And for the second NDC, 2024, and UN Climate Change Conference UK 2021, coal phase down with the framework of energy transition. So we try to phase out coal and shift to renewable energy. But we have to conduct the just energy transition to avoid any damage or any difficulty of the transition if not properly conducted. Blue carbon resources, we developed this by mangrove because ocean can produce and absorb carbon. So if we compare before and after we have this NDC for commitment for carbon emission, it's a national effort. Before is 39%, after we increase a little bit. International support increased also from 41 to 43.2. Is equivalent to this amount of carbon dioxide emission. Okay, we are committed for the net zero emission, and I've mentioned earlier that we have several aspects. We want to protect and restore the environment. Yeah, the deforestation. We try to target. Mangrove rehabilitation program, increase target. While deforestation, we want to reduce, if possible, no more deforestation. But mangrove, we have to increase. The mangrove target is there, but so far, realization this far, I think it's still in the right track. Marine protected area, target this much. So far, we realized 28.4 million. And plastic marine debris, yeah, we target 20%, reduce, currently only that much. Then, talking about the electric vehicle, we targeted in 2024 that the population of electric car will be 75,000. Currently, only 5,000. This is interesting because not in Indonesia, not too easy to convince people to use electric vehicle. Even though we promote this is clean energy, yeah, safe energy, and from our side also we can minimize the import of the fossil fuel. Yeah, but still the low adoption is because one of the component is the price. People in Indonesia, they don't care about what kind of vehicle or motorcycle. As long as it's cheap, they'll buy it. Regardless if it's polluted or not, cheap. So we try to maneuver on this aspect. Okay, make sure that in the next future, the EV price, both motorcycle and four-wheeler, hopefully will be as comparable with the ICE. And for this, we introduce the incentive for an electric vehicle. Also for motorcycle, you can notice here, target 1.2, 2024, only this much so far. And the reason why we target this is to be able to target of this our net zero emission 2060. On the other hand, we also do the coal-fired electricity reduction. Sorry. Yeah, targeted 30 ton watt hour. Still now is still 190 ton watt hour. And renewable energy, targeted 90%, 2060, so we can have the emission reduction. Realization, so far only 19%. In our case, I don't know in other place, there seems to be, sorry to say, competition between the electric power company. They want to produce electricity cheap. The choice is coal. But when we try to develop renewable energy, then the policy has to be made to make sure that we don't want to sacrifice one of them, but gradually we reduce the fossil energy, at the same time we increase the renewable energy. So then we have this, the just energy transition. Okay, now in our capacity in downstreaming, because we have mineral resources, so we also develop the downstreaming of the mineral resources, for example, from past nickel, yeah, currently produced as stainless steel, and in the future, this will be the basis for the EV battery, as well as the EV itself, yeah. So with this program, we hope we can accelerate the EV development in Indonesia, both for the battery and as well as for the car or motorcycle. And having the natural resources of Indonesia, the mineral resources, for example, then we have the possibility for this, right? So there's a policy now that this nickel ore cannot be exported, has to be used locally by us. Okay, so far we have developed our nickel industry. As you can see, this is the process, right? From nickel ore all the way until the recycle battery itself here, but we do recycle also the battery to make sure that we do not overuse the nickel ore in the mining, because so this is the value of the battery materials, as you can see from this figure.
Professor, sorry for the interruption. We have 3 minutes left.
Yeah, okay, I'll make it quick, of course. So this is just the key material, a metal for lithium battery. Yeah, we have all this material for our lithium battery. Yeah, the battery here composed of this precursor, cathode, etc. So all this material here. The red one, we don't have it yet. The blue one under construction, and the black one, we have it. Okay. And then acceleration process. Okay. Why we do it for this? Because we want to transform our industry. Yeah, Indonesia so far do not yet have a strong industry, but with electric vehicle, we develop our industry, and also for subsidized energy from fossil to electricity. And then, of course, the very important thing is the CO2 emission. Okay, I think this is interesting for all of us, the market. Yeah, we have a large market actually, but we have to pursue that market by providing a very strong government support. Yeah, you can see here the regulation for BEV program, and then the operational incentive for local and federal government using EV, and the incentive for acceleration of BEV program. So in line with the market, you can see the market like this. So this is an opportunity for all of us to support Indonesia in developing EV. Okay, this is the presidential decree about this, and so the commitment is there. And as you can see, that Indonesia will try to commit for this energy reduction. Okay, I can just skip this. This is all the supporting document for our program, and regulatory as well. The roadmap is this. I mean, this is also interesting for those who want to invest in Indonesia. We invite investment from everywhere as long as develop and benefit for Indonesia. This is the transforming from ICE to EV from time to time. And charging station also the issue, but we are developing this to support the EV development. And we also already all over Indonesia, almost the main location for the charging, battery swap and charging station. Okay, this is the just comparison with Indonesia and Thailand, because we are similarly, start our EV development. Okay, this is the industrial estate developed several locations to be able for those who want to invest, you have this kind of opportunity. Okay, this is a profile. Okay, and again, this is the information that you might be interested of. Extraction program. The available producer, yeah, for two-wheelers and for a car. So we invite those who want to join the club for this. And thank you for your attention. And we look forward for a future collaboration, especially in Asia and ASEAN, because Asia and ASEAN is one of the biggest population for electric vehicle in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Professor, for your coming to Jeju and presenting Indonesian experience. Next session we are waiting for this session by Dr. Jae-hak Oh, President of Korea Transport Institute. And the theme will be Transformation of Mobility, 3 Revolutions in Global Cooperation. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Okay, thank you. So, file, PPT. 안 되는데?
I cannot do it. Is the file uploaded?
Okay, good morning. Good morning, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's after the board meeting dinner last night, I became more familiar and also more friendly with the members of the GIN. So, okay, let us start. This morning, first of all, thank you for inviting me to the GIN assembly meeting this morning. This morning, I'd like to share some the macroscopic view on mobility and mobility transformation, which is which is very rapidly in progress now. I will talk about the basic meaning of the mobility and also some general megatrend which affect the transformation of mobility. Among them, I emphasize some 3 important revolutions for the transformation of mobility, which are the automation, electrification, and sharing. Finally, I will finish my presentation with some general aspects for the future global cooperation. Let us start with some interesting photos. Actually, the last May, mid of March, I visited the San Francisco Bay Area, and then had a very interesting experience with some new mobility. First picture is about the cruise GM provided, GM operated in the Bay Area. It's so-called the post-level autonomous vehicle service, taxi, robot taxi service. So I experienced about the around the more than 30 minutes on board, and then I found the operation is very comfortable, and I didn't feel any the dangers actually. So what I'm saying is now is the post-level autonomous vehicle is very close, very near to our life actually. The second photo is also I visited the Joby Aviation, which is located in the near Monterey of California. And then I look at I had a chance to see some assembly line, production line of the BAM aircraft, and also I watched the test flight for 1 hour actually, and then which is very reliable, and I think they say they are applying for the FAA certification within this year, and the next year they are going to start to operate they start the commercial operations. I think it's these two portals gives us the new mobility is coming to our life very quickly, very rapidly now. And then the last September, I also visited the Munich, and then I had some meeting with the German expert, so-called the Unternehmertum. Is kind of the mobility cluster, so-called entrepreneurship. Unternehmer is the entrepreneurship. And then I found this kind of the cluster, mobility cluster activity is very useful and very powerful for the not only innovation, technology innovation, but also the implementation of the technology at the local level with a very close communication with the people in general. You know, the first picture is SpaceX project is very famous already. It's made by the Elon Musk, Tesla, and then what I wanted to say from this picture is now is the space economy or space industry is going into the private sector, and then there is a great success. I mean, the role of the private sector is very important. That's what I'm saying. Okay, what is the difference between the mobility transport, traditionally saying transport, and the mobility? In these days, many people say mobility. I think it's the mobility in my individual interpretation, mobility is based on providing kind of the individual specific demand, demand-based the service actually. Whereas traditionally the transport is based on more oriented the suppliers approach, I think. So because of the ICT technology and then the smartphone, there is now became possible to provide some individual-based, individual-oriented, specific mobility service. This slide is showing how the transport system in the human history has been evolved. Actually, it started with the canal, between the 70 to the 18th century, and then we had the railway, and then the road with the water and air. So many people say, actually every century, every 45, 50 years, we had a new technology, new transport mode actually. So now we are expecting to emerging the emergence of the new mode of transport actually. I think you may think freely what is the future major transport system will be. I think we don't have the new transport mode, but instead there is the possibility to be upgraded. For example, we have a high-speed railway, and also we have the different kind of the automobiles, and also we are better the aircraft, something like that. I think there is behind such the evolution of the transport system, there is a digital revolution and the carbon revolution, maybe decarbonization revolution. I like to mention about the three important external costs, which is related to the transport and automobile transport, the auto transport mode. First one is the congestion cost. Second one is the accident cost. Third one is the environmental cost, you see. These are, maybe some people say, automobile produced Earth, something like many people saying automobile is dangerous. Also, automobile is very dirty. Some people, and automobile is very expensive. But still, we rely on the automobile, the car, the transport mode actually. So, now we are trying to reduce or eliminate these three kind of the externality produced from the automobile actually. There are many different challenges for the future mobility or mobility transformation. For example, in terms of the socio-economics, user need, and the technology industry. First one is how to minimize congestion and accident and environmental cost. How to satisfy individual demand and enhancing mobility service for the people in general. How to revitalize the economy and the transport industry. How to strengthen global competitiveness in transportation industry. These are all challenges we have to deal with. I think Korea has been quite successful in terms of the transportation policy, transportation infrastructure development, or operation of different transportation mode. Actually, I say the traditional previous transportation policies, which in Korea can be summarized into three things. First one is the infrastructure development. Second one is responding to the rapid motorization. Third one is the promoting the public transport, the public transportation system or services, something like that. But we are now facing different challenges, different mega trends, which is the climate change crisis, post-industrial technology revolution, and very fundamental structural demographic changes and the global pandemics, you know. And then the next 10 years will be the decisive decade for the change of the transport mode and also the transportation, the transformation of the mobility. You know this part. Actually, in the beginning, I thought the technology revolution is most important, but sometime later, I became realized maybe the climate change is more important. And now in these days, the structural, the demographic changes, maybe that is the more important, actually. But I think these four all are equally important. But I don't know, it depending on the place's time, this megatrend will be some megatrend, I think some of them are more important, some of them are less important, but that will be deeper from time to time. About 10 years ago, I made this figure, and then since then I'm enjoying to using this figure. I think it's the three revolutions actually for on the transformation of mobility. That is the automation, electrification, sharing. You know already this very well. The automation is the autonomous vehicles or UAM, and electrification we have discussed quite enough this morning already, and sharing actually. There is a high possibility to resolve, for example, the accident problems, congestion problems, and the emission or environmental problems because of these three revolutions. These three revolutions produce a lot of benefits for us, actually, but at the same time, this will affect industries, especially the automobile industries, mobility industries, quite heavily, actually. So we have to prepare for such a big change of the existing automobile industries. There are many changes. Among them is the most important is the employment, the job opportunities, job places. This graph is the part of the report produced from the MIT, the MIT Press, so-called the work of the future. They say about 60% of jobs in 2018 did not exist before 1940. I think maybe we might say, for example, the present number of present jobs will disappear maybe 60% in next 10 or 20 years time, maybe, I think. So we have to, these create a lot of the social conflict, actually. So we have to prepare for this kind of the earthquake, actually, to be unfold in front of us.
박사님, 1분 안에 좀 맞춰주십시오.
You have 1 minute left, sorry.
Use 3 minutes more, okay. We need a comprehensive approach for the mobility transformation, so-called the auto industry, the infrastructure innovation, mobility service, and there are many regulations and finance and R&D, actually. There are many issues related to these things. We have to solve this issue one by one, actually. I have two slides now. I think it's the mobility transformation will be proceed in terms of maybe four important aspects. First one is the important conditions for the successful transformation of mobility. First one is technology innovation. Okay, this is very basic, necessary condition. Second one is we have to succeed in economic or the commercial, implementation. I say the commercial viability, okay? Third one is social inclusion or social cooperation. Without social cooperation, it is very difficult. It will take a lot of time, maybe. So what I am saying today is that we have to make a balance, not only for all of these, all of the technology innovation, the economic efficiency aspects, and then social cooperation, social inclusion, you see. So this will be contributed to the zero emission, zero casualty, and the better affordability of the mobility. To do this, we have a market-based transformation ecosystem. These three revolutions will be processed in a form of the simultaneous transformation. We need a social agreement. And finally, to do this, we need a more better upgraded social security net and the training of the new workforce. I think there are many important issues relating to the global cooperation for the future mobility, actually. For example, the regulation framework on the safety and the security, and the technology, international technology standardization, and also we have to respond to the global climate change crisis, as also the reducing the digital divide is also very important in age, gender, economic, something like this. Also, I wanted to emphasize the appropriate technologies, and also this is very important. We have to try to minimize transfer of the greenhouse gas emission from developed countries to developing countries. For example, for Korea, we can we can move to the electric vehicles, but the problem is those old internal combustion engine vehicles are found in Mongolia, for example. In April, I saw many cases, something like that. That kind of so without global cooperation, it is meaningless, actually. So I like to emphasize that for this, we need better collaboration through the multilateral institutions. Also, we are more the stable financing system as well for the global corporations. Thank you very much for your attention. I think his time is very limited. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your valuable speech, and I'm also sorry for the time limit. So we are moving forward to June General Meeting, and this General Meeting will be chaired by Chairman Dae-Hwan Kim. Due to the time limits, we have about 15 minutes, but we will first go into June Chairman's message and the participants' introduction by also the Chairman Dae-Hwan Kim. Due to the time limit, we'll go into the agenda report by General Secretariat, Professor Park. For June participants, please turn on the audios and videos of your devices. Okay, I'll introduce Mr. Park Jong-chan to summarize the agenda report for our general meeting.
Dear GYM members and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very great honor to report the 4 agendas for GYM members. The first is that major 어떻게 옮기는 건가?
I'm not sure how to move slides.
There are 4 agendas. First is major business performance in 2022 and business plan for 2023. The second is that the composition of the committee and the appointment of chairpersons. The third is the registration of new members. The fourth is the GYM logo change. Finally, the budget. Major business performance in 2022 is as follows. The 9th International Electric Vehicle Expo was held for 4 days from May 3rd to 6th last year. More than 400,000 people from 50 countries participated. As for participating companies, 24 companies, including Tesla, exhibited 356 booths, and 84 companies participate in the virtual exhibition. In addition to having 503 B2B meetings, and also 137 sessions took place. Second, the first International Agricultural Machinery Electrification and Autonomous Driving Expo was held from November 8th to 10th last year. Despite being the first event, 21 companies exhibited 108 booths, and a total 3,000 people from 10 countries participated. And thirdly, 4 councils were launched to develop from an expo centered on electric vehicles to an expo that includes e-mobility industries such as UAM as well as electric ships. Committees are International Electric Ship Council, International UAM Council, International Electrification Parts and Horizontal Ecosystem Establishment Council, E-Mobility Global Business Pioneer Council. Next, I will tell you about our major business plans for 2023. The 10th International Electric Vehicle Now Expo will be held from today and to May 5th. In November, we plan to hold the second International Agricultural Machinery Electrification and Autonomous Driving Expo. As for global business development, we are planning a joint project in June, Korea-Indonesia 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties, and a joint project with China EV100 in October. We are also planning major e-mobility forums and expos such as electric ships and UAM. Next is the second agenda, the composition of the committee and the introduction of the chairperson. The purpose of establishing the committee is to discover new business and enhance the substance of GIN. In addition, it is not only to increase members of in major countries and expand overseas network, but also to strengthen activities as an EV standardization organization. The Planning Committee, Standardization Subcommittee, and Internationalization Committee were formed, and the chairperson was appointed as follows. Because of the time constraints, and I will skip the name of the persons, but here I will introduce several persons. Hwang Sung-ik, partner lawyer at the law firm Shin & Kim from the Planning Committee. Standard Committee is Ms. Gabriela De Erlichi, Director of the Communication IEC, and then Dr. Youngjun Moon, IES TMB member, International Committee, Albert Lam, and then from the Detroit Electric Holdings, CEO and Group Chairman, Mr. Jin Chul Kim, Commissioner of the Gwangju Free Economic Zone Authority. The third issue is the approval of the new members. It currently consists of the 70 members from the 27 countries. There are 23 associations and organization members, 39 corporate members, and 88 individual members. As for the new members, there are 6 associations and organizations and 3 corporations. I will just skip the name of the company, the organizations, and you can see, and 6 members and 3 corporation members. And then in case of the corporation members from the Danfoss, Denmark, and also BMP Solution and Evolution. In particular, very important point is that from the USA, Global EV Drivers Alliance joined as a member. That means we are expanding the membership from the manufacturers to the distributions, and also R&D, and also the electric ships, and then UAM too. And our goal of members aims to reach 150 members in 50 countries by 2025. In order to achieve these goals, active cooperation from existing members is required. We ask for active support to expand not only electric vehicles, but also electric ships, UAM, parts and materials, and the related associations, organizations, or global companies as members. Next is the GIN logo change. The existing logo simply displayed 4 letters in golden without the design concept. The new logo was newly designed to reflect the global concept, mutual cooperation, and continuous concept. We hope you enjoy using our new logo. The left circle that stands for the globe, and then is the right side is then golden key. G is that golden key to the global market. If you use this logo, you can get a good fortune and get profit, I'm sure. Finally, is about the budget. Currently, we do not collect membership fees, so the International Electric Vehicle Expo Secretary is supporting the necessary expenses. After this year, we plan to collect membership fees for new members, not the existing members, while actively developing profitable business that can be helpful to members, such as virtual exhibition and international forums. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Mr. Secretary General. We are coming to close this general meeting. And my bad, I was failed by time management. So next time we'll have more time introducing each other and greetings exchange. So let's officially end today's general meeting, and thank you all. So let's applaud each other with this. So with newcomers present, we'll be having another session of photo commemorating our event today. So would you please stand up and come into the podium? Again.